listening to The Magnetic Coach, a podcast for those who want to stand out, be seen, and communicate with clarity and confidence. I'm your host, Linda Ford. Let's dive in. So, welcome everyone. I am so excited today to have my second guest for my podcast, my podcast is called The Magnetic Life Coach. I'm so glad to have Christine Walsh Rakowski. Did I pronounce that right?
Yes, very much right. Yes.
Okay. Yep. And Christine, I'm just going to ask you to let us know, what is it that you do in the world?
Well, apparently I ski a lot and vacation a lot from my Facebook profile. But seriously, in terms of my work and what I do, in terms of impacting and influencing in different ways with regards to my own purpose, is I work with women and money and their businesses. So I am helping women understand money at a deeper level. I think that's what's required right now in these times, to grow their income, to create more profitability in their businesses, and at the same time enjoy their money and have a healthier relationship with it.
Great. As you're saying you're a money coach. I can bet you there are some women out there who are like hearing that. They're like, oh, great, exciting, And then there are others, I bet you, Christine, that are just like, oh God, they're having shivers, like, do we really need to talk about this, And
I was right? One of them. I was one of the latter, Linda, many years ago. And the perhaps horrifying part of it was I grew up in New York City, was groomed to go to business school, and did that, and then started working in different investment banking houses in New York, worked down on Wall Street for 12 years. So I have sort of a financial background that would have given somebody else the idea that I was very good with money and etc. And I wasn't good with my own money. I was very scared, and I thought I lost you there for a sec. Sorry.
Oh, yeah.
I was very scared about my money. It was very fear-driven. I mean, I was doing successful and everything like that, but it was very fearful, and I never wanted to talk about my own finances for many reasons. So I was one of those women that's on the latter side of that equation.
Yeah. I think I toggle between both of them.
Yeah.
I go back and forth. But, for this is why I wanted to have you on this conversation, Christine, because a lot of my whole approach to my coaching work, my work with clients, is I always use this tagline where soul meets strategy. And so, because I believe that for whatever it is we're exploring in life and trying to up level, there's this energetic, soulful aspect to it. But then there's the strategy. And I think one without the other is useless, And I think a lot of the mistakes that we make innocently is that we're all strategy, or we're all, doing the inner work. But I think when you put those two together, bingo, I think you've got a really magical combination. And that's why, you've had so much experience on Wall Street. You've got some real practical, ways of coaching women about money. And then there's the energetic side. So that's how I want the conversation to go, if that's okay with you.
Absolutely. It's my favorite thing is the hybrid with both. And I do believe
hybrids.
Majority, almost in a way, of the energetics, of the psychological piece of it, of the emotional aspect of it, perhaps more so than the strategy. Because if we don't have our head on straight around this topic or many other topics, but we're talking money here, the strategy will backfire. We'll beat ourselves up. We'll perpetuate shame. And so it's important for us to understand what's driving us and motivating us behind the money. And that's not something, I don't know about you, but it's not something I was taught my family or at school or anything like that back, 40, 50 years ago now. So it's really it's fun to blend it because it's not all head strategy and the tactics and the mechanics of it. There's a lot of wisdom in our emotional well-being.
Great. So let's start with this first question. What is money, Christine, and how do you see it? What is this thing called money?
Right. In my world, money is life force energy. That's how I consider money. I believe it is a fluid. I mean, money comes from the word currency in a way, it's sort of a derivative, and currency comes from flow and current. So I see money as a circulation of energy. I see it as a form of self-expression as well. And that's what drives life force energy in us. So, and it's used to get things or change things for that matter too.
Yeah. So is it true that women have more issues with money than men? And if so, what's going on?
Yeah, great question. Well, because I work with predominantly more women than men in my career here, I obviously see more women, and it does make sense that women have more blocks or belief stuff or stories. First, we're an emotional being more so, like just in our typical identities of men versus women and how we've grown up, or how, traditionally how we've been viewed. So there's more of a aspect of how do I care for this? How do I, or not, like my emotions are wrapped up in it a little bit more as a woman. And we have only been making money as women in this country, and probably, and just, I just can speak for the United States, over the past 60 years or so.
Yeah.
And, it's not that long ago. I have this stat that it was only in 1974 that women were given the ability to get a credit card on their own without their husband co-signing with them.
Amazing, isn't it?
Right? Like it feels a long time ago and it doesn't at the same time. So we just haven't had the role models. We haven't had the responsibility to be the breadwinner or to bring in more money or handle money. So we're learning that. And I feel like it's been a slow curve. And at the same time, I do know that I think from a financial industry standard, the tides are turning. Like I see a Fidelity or a Vanguard or these different investment houses having seminars for women. I mean, there's an investment house that I align very strongly with, Elvest, that is run by women and for women, because we do money differently. And that's okay. It's not that the men are wrong or that way is wrong, but the idea of the way that we are making money back 60 years ago, 50 years ago, 20 years ago is a lot different. We're moving into a new world order here. And I think a lot of what I call the feminine principles of money are very important to pull in, because it's been very masculine. I worked down on Wall Street. It was like, go, 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 get it, whatever you can. So generally speaking, and I do want our listeners to understand it's a general broad brush here to a certain degree, but I think everyone can relate to seeing those dynamics play out.
Yeah. And, in my work, as I look at other coaches, there's a lot of women out there who are, making multiple six figures, big money in the coaching industry. I mean, the woman who taught me to coach, her name is Brooke Castillo. She's big. Do you know Brooke?
I do.
So she taught me how to coach. She was one of my teachers, her with Martha Beck.
Yeah. Love
okay, so two great people, right?
Yeah.
And that I was one of Martha's first cohorts, the first class she had of coach training. We did it all online, and Brooke was her CEO back then.
Wow, yeah.
Brooke now is she's earning 42 million a year.
Yeah, absolutely.
She's
her podcast. So yeah.
Isn't it amazing?
Yeah. And I know she stands for women making more money, and how that,
she does.
What that can do for our communities and our families and the global collective in general. And that's how I feel, just coming back to like, what is money? It is a fluid thing that can move through us to actually create change.
Yeah.
at a lot of levels.
But Christine, so I hear there's a lot of coaches also out there who are putting out value, right? They're working on their business. They're great coaches, but they're not making any money. And I was wondering if you could speak to that, like if that is the case. And I kind of came across this statistic that 90% of our programming, 97% of it is subconscious.
Yeah.
So I was just wondering if you could address like what could be going on in that situation. What would you advise them to look at, to begin to look at?
I love it. And I love how you connected the subconscious mind. I'll speak to that in a second.
Yeah.
It's
a big question.
The one thing that came up for me right as you were asking the question is us as women, again, generally speaking, our ability to receive and to receive well. I think it's as one of my 7 feminine principles of money is about receptivity and understanding that receiving is just as important as giving. Again, being a woman, tending to be the nurturer or mama bear kind of energy, all good. Not always. I don't have kids. I'm just wasn't
Me
built
neither.
for it. So
dogs, yes, kids, no.
But tends to, again, because of the role models and who
Yeah.
we came from, traditionally. So I think us in asking for what we need and being bold and being perhaps a bitch, or if like it on the equivalent of if a man did the same thing, we just have these stereotypes which actually come back and pull up stories from the subconscious mind of when we were kids. And it's like, it's not nice to talk about money, women. It's not nice to, don't ask for a lot. You don't need a lot. Don't brag. All those kind of things start when we start to own our own business, just start to slap us in the face left and right and come back and say, you know what? I don't know if I'm worth that. I don't know if I see it with a lot of women, and it's why I do the work I do, because there are so many amazing women doing amazing things, and we need a lot of this work out in the world. And to not have that flow of money rolling through, and money does flow to value, is hurting us at a global level. So, yeah. And the subconscious mind is
so yeah. So what do we do? Do we go back and look at our inner child, or do we? I mean, I'll tell you, if I look back on my family, they did not do money well.
Yeah.
Money was very tied up with violence for me.
Yeah.
Between my parents.
Yeah.
So what would you tell coaches, I mean, or anyone, an entrepreneur, solopreneur, to begin to unravel?
Well, one of the exercises that I love to share with people, and if that's okay, I'd love to share it here, is if money was a person in your life. So, not to replace a person, I sometimes have to disclose that sometimes, but if money was a person in your life, how might you describe that relationship? And just becoming aware of it. And it's sort of a kind of a hokey way, especially for any listeners who are feel like this is like a sticky topic for them. If money was a person in your life, and I've heard all sorts of things like, it's like a one night stand. Some days it's here, sometimes it's gone.
Yes.
And all the different things, it doesn't support me or whatever, just recognizing what your story is in that context. Yeah. And then having a dialogue with it. Sometimes we do have to go back, and there might be some stuff that's coming up for us, stories as when we were growing up and what we were exposed to imprints on us, because between 0 and 7 years old, our subconscious mind is a sponge and taking it all in. So we don't have to excavate super deeply to get an awareness of like what our relationship with is money. We can look at our checkbook. We can look at how money's flowing to us or not flowing up to us is telling us how our subconscious mind is reacting to money. But another fun way to do it is once you kind of look at that relationship, you can actually write a letter to money is sometimes what I have my clients do, which is,
I love that. Yeah.
Money. And you just lay it out on the table, whatever it is. Maybe it's like, whatever, it's for your eyes only. You can burn it in the full moon, whatever you want to do. Like, but you write the letter to money, and you just, right, getting it out of our head onto paper can help, and no one needs to see it. And then what I have my clients do is switch roles with money, and money writes you back. So it would be, dear money, blah, blah, blah. You never supported me, whatever it is, Christine. And then you switch roles. Dear Christine, this is money. And see what money has to say back to you. And it's very, very profound exercise to switch roles and to switch perspectives.
Yeah.
And from there, you get to see, oh, maybe there is an opportunity for an opening of a different relationship. There is no doubt about it. We as women are redefining our relationship to money. So there is no right or wrong way. And I want everyone to hear that whatever has occurred, or whatever had the stories that have been attached to money for all of us, that's whatever level, we can make a new decision today and have a different relationship with it. And yes, is there work to be done around that? Of course, just like any relationship, if we want to improve it, we, have a dialogue, we communicate, right? I just think of with me and my husband, if something's going on, I'm not avoiding. If I care for the relationship, I engage.
I love that exercise. And it's interesting because I write about my coaching business as if I'm in relationship with it. It's the same dynamic, isn't it? Absolutely. So, it's like, and I've gone through all phases with my coaching business. I started 15 years ago, and there was when you first meet your business, it's like you're in love, it's just like, and then you go through this unrequited love phase, where you're given everything and there's no love coming back, right?
Yeah.
So I've written about this in a course that I've produced, and I kind of framed it that way, like it's in a relationship. So it's the same thing with money. And then there was the big breakup. I had the big breakup. I stopped coaching. I didn't divorce, but I just had the separation.
Yeah.
And then I kind of rekindled the relationship again, So it is like that, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
This real living, breathing thing,
And that I think we also, and this could be across genders, is we kind of forget that we have how much power we do have and how much we really can control. And I do think, being that I worked in the financial services industry for years, we sort of abdicated the responsibility to other people, whether it was our spouses, or it was, our financial advisor, or our dad, or someone who knew better than us.
Yeah.
And actually, what the stats say is women are better investors in the stock market because they stay longer they don't time the market as much as men do.
Interesting.
They are much more value driven. So they're researching the companies a little deeper to understand what's going on behind the scenes and what the companies stand for, which actually creates more robustness in the value of the business. So, we have a lot going for us as women, and learning to trust ourselves with this very precious commodity.
Yeah.
Is essentially the work. Yes. Is it about making more money? Is it about having more in the bank account? What all those things. And at the end of the day, which is not in my marketing materials, it's about, can you trust yourself with money? And can you trust yourself in general?
Yeah. So can you say something about getting back to this? You're in relationship with this energy of money, about a daily, like just being aware of how we're treating it.
Absolutely. I started a little, again, in the spirit of money's this person in my life. In a way, I'm in relationship with it. Over the past maybe like 3 weeks or so, I started this thing where every day I write down, money says to me, and it's just whatever intuitively comes up. Like we went away on a vacation last week, and even for me, the money coach, things come up like, oh, should we spend it on that? Like, are we, eating out too much? And I just remember money saying to me, it's okay, Christine, let it flow. And it was just like a little sentence, like a reminder. So I love the connection of being in relationship with it. One other way I think of, because we're all, whether we're buying the groceries online, we're buying them in the store these days, is just remembering how that money is flowing through our hands into the producers of the food, to the clerks who are checking us out. A little hard to sort of justify Amazon on one level because they're such a conglomerate, so big.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like, the truck drivers that get the or the delivery men that bring the package to the door, like all of that is stewardship.
Yes.
Of money that I think is really a lost piece of this too, that I'd love to bring back and re-invite into this conversation around money, is that we are stewards of this, and it passes through our hands, and sometimes it passes through a little quicker than we'd like or whatever, and we think we're not going to get it back, but it in that area of flow, if we can just imagine, okay, money's coming to me and it does leave, and what's the ripple effect of it? So that's just in that day to day.
Yeah.
Outside of maybe journaling, like I said, if you want to incorporate something like that. And then gratitude, I think, for just any, all the different things, right? What is money is a form of exchange for something else. Like, we want more money because we want more money. We want either more security. We want a flashier car. We want a bigger home. We want a smaller home, whatever it is. Money's just a fluid conduit to other things. So it's what are those things representing for us?
Yeah.
Right? Even the grocery store example can be food and buying good food and organic produce or anything like that. It's about my health and well-being. Like, when we start to connect our values to our money, it makes a huge, huge difference. I had a client who said, I hate paying the mortgage, Wells Fargo, blah, blah, blah. I was like, well, what does the home represent for you? And she's like, well, security, peace, safety. I was like, well, every time you write, not that you wrote the check, but every time you see it in the transactions on the online banking portal, just feel into what the money exchange is with respect to your values.
Yeah, in some ways, we probably removed ourselves from that because we're always using credit cards, aren't we? And it's like the other day, I actually used some dollar bills. It seems so weird. Like, I even buy my coffee with my credit card, and it's just weird. And the interesting thing is that when I was rummaging through my wallet, I did have quite a few $100s in there because I got some rebate or something. I got a check cashed, and I put the dollars in there, and I put them in a part of my wallet that it was kind of loose. And so when I opened up my wallet, all these bills it was actually quite beautiful, actually, to see all these $50 bills just kind of fall over the car floor, And I thought, oh, there's abundance, it's like the universe showing me all this money. But then what I discovered a couple of days later is that one of those $50 bills had kind of gotten to the back seat, and the dogs had been, kind of walking all over it. And there it was just sitting. And I thought, isn't that interesting, that even just how we stuff money in our wallets and just let it lie around on the floor, maybe, Just interesting.
I know. And it is tough with, us generally not holding cash too often. My husband works and he receives tips, and I'm like, whoa, look at all that cash that's like flowing through your hands there. And, we're looking at money in a different way, even just thinking of like the cryptocurrency. That's a whole nother ball of,
I know,
that's happening around money, and that the conversation around money is evolving. And so my invitation for women is to look at it like a relationship. We're relationship driven people. If we're in a coaching business or we're in business, we're in the business of relationship, and we're in the business of making money, and that money is for something, not just for making it. And I think that's where people can get hung up, is just like, I'm going to take people's money and hoard it. Really, what you'll be doing is taking people's money and it's transferring through you to something else that
Yes.
be a steward of, and that they receive something out of it, amazing work, to work with you or something like that. So
Yeah, I'm amazed at how many coaches are, it's okay to give money to your doctor or your dentist or the woman who's doing your nails. But so many coaches feel so uncomfortable about asking for money. So what do you think's going on there?
Again, coaching being relatively new, and us asking for money for our own work, which is not necessarily a product, it's a service. And having models that have been on an hourly basis, typically, we're sort of pioneering through this a little bit. So that's part of it. Like, I want to give everyone a break. Like, it doesn't have to necessarily be like the old story or how your mom treated money or anything like that. That's probably a piece of it. But we're also pioneering a new way of working with money. And I always find it very fascinating to engage with another business person, a woman who's totally clean and clear with her money. Like, yeah, it's not perfect or anything, but she's like, this is my price. This is what it is. It feels like such a clean container that we can agree or not agree to work together, whatever it is, and move on. Like, there's no stories attached to it. So it really is us working with money at a new level. A lot of women, we're starting businesses at a rapid rate as women, and we're also coming out of a workforce where we might have been an employee, we might have been a stay-at-home person. So we're new at asking for money. Even anyone who's in a career asking for a raise, it just isn't, it's rude to ask for money. It's rude to talk about money. It's not ladylike, whatever all that is. Like, let's just stop it here. Like, you have to ask for what you want. And that's really the bottom line. You have permission to ask for what you need. And there's plenty of money to go around.
You're just reminding me, when I first started coaching, I gave a workshop on, I don't know why I did, on money, cleaning up your relationship with money. And I just remembered I started off the conversation. There were about 10 women in the room. And I said, okay, so before we start, we're going to go around the room and you're all going to tell and share how much is in your checking account or your bank account. I wasn't serious, but you could feel it was visceral, it was like, no, we don't go there. It's like, there's so much more at ease talking about their sex life than they are their money life.
100%.
That was the point I was trying to get across, is just see how uncomfortable we are,
Yeah, absolutely. And being in business, it's about being uncomfortable. So
yeah, tell me about it.
Money's definitely the final frontier for women. And what I want to give a glimmer of hope, that the bigger the resistance around dealing with your money stuff, the actual bigger the potential on the other side, because the pendulum.
Say more about why.
Because, well, I think of the law of polarity, right? If everything works, it's right or left, it's good or bad. So the wider it swings one way, the wider it can swing the other.
Oh, beautiful.
And so thinking about our biggest resistances, right? Whatever it is about money. I don't want to look at it, the avoider. I have a money archetype quiz that's really fun, because one of the archetypes is around avoiding. And the bigger the avoider we are, we actually, if we choose and consciously choose with a lot of courage, I get it, and commitment to creating a healthier relationship with our money, we're going to actually create a massive potential on the other side.
Wow. Actually, I took your quiz.
Yeah.
And what are the archetypes? I can't remember what it.
Oh, goodness. Now you're quizzing me. There's avoider.
No, wasn't that?
I would imagine I'll start from the top. Visionary.
I think that was the one.
I would totally see that. It's visionary. There is the generator. There's the spender giver, the hoarder, the avoider. There's one in there that I'm totally missing. I'll have to We'll have to have take it.
I'll put in the show notes the link to
Yeah.
your website so that they
That
can
would be
take
great.
this fun quiz.
That would be great. Yeah, super quick. And what I like to share with them are, we all want to understand ourselves. It's a very accessible way for us to understand how we show up with our money. And each of them has an advantage and a disadvantage. I mean, the visionary, I also am a visionary.
What's the disadvantage of
like pie in the sky and I'd not have any plan, right? That's where the strategy comes in.
Yeah.
And the avoider is just totally avoiding. And, it can be all over the place. But the more we understand ourselves, just like any part of personal development, the more that we understand ourselves, the more power we have to change things. And that's really the shift here. Whether you want to make $75,000, $750,000, $7 million, whatever it is, it's not about the amount as much as how much ease and flow, much more ease and flow I can have in my life with this thing that is the longest relationship in our life. I mean, our relationship with ourselves is a long one, our relationship with time, but money's right up there. It's with us
right alongside you all your life. Yeah.
Exactly.
So I want to be respectful of your time, Christine, but I want to get your take on this, because just before I got on here this morning, I was streaming through Abraham Hicks, the law of attraction teachers, and I kind of put in money, right? Women and money.
Love it.
And there was a really great conversation between this woman who she was she had a business, wasn't sure what it was, but she wasn't making much money, but her life was so abundant and it was all coming through the funnel of her husband. And so her question to Abraham was, why not me? And is there a difference? Like, do I have anything to complain about?
Right.
I was just wondering what your take on that is, because she was claiming and making a point that, I want my own funnel.
Right.
I mean, I'm grateful for the funnel that I have. But do you see any?
Well, I guess how I think about money, where money comes from, is money comes from source through other people. And when we can be a little judgy about how it comes to us. So I want, X amount of dollars this month, and I end up getting a gift or something from someone else or a loan or something like that. And I judge it that I didn't create it myself. So we just have to be watching our judgment around where money comes from, because money, if we're asking for it, it comes from source energy through other people to us. It doesn't come from other people. So there's that piece. And I don't, just probably would need a little bit more context, but also we each have the power to create what we want. We're master manifestors. And if that was the case and we wanted to make our own money, we totally could do that, especially if we're a business owner and we're entrepreneurs. I mean, we have that ability to do so, very much so. But my first inclination is if we're judging where the money comes from.
Yeah. And it's kind of like the ego sneaking in there saying, you've got a problem here. You've got to fix this problem,
Yeah, exactly. Where there may or may not be a problem, right? There's a lot of different pieces of it that I may not know. So, but that's the first thing. And I did not learn. I'm thinking, and that's also a part of maybe women business owners not wanting to ask because they feel like they're taking money away from someone that may or may not have it. I always say, stay out of other people's pocketbooks.
Yeah.
And money comes through other people to us, just like it comes through us and it moves out to others as well. Whether it's we're having the plumber come over and putting in new fixtures or fixing the toilet or whatever it is.
Right.
So I think that's a good reminder for us all to be like, money, the universe wants more for us than we do and wants us to have it. And it comes in all different ways. So maybe that speaks to being a little bit more clear on how you do want it to come in.
Yeah, beautiful.
Universe loves clarity, loves conviction. So it happens and it totally makes sense with money.
Yes, beautiful. So, Christine, where can we find you? What's your website called?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm in Steamboat Springs, Colorado. So if anyone is floating through there, please feel free to reach out. But my website is www.christine, CHRISTINE, M as in money.
I'll put it in the show notes too. Yeah.
Yep. Walsh.com, WALSH.com. And I think that's the best part to reach me at. I would love to hear any listeners' ahas or uh-ohs, or want to be witnessed in this this conversation, because that's really, at the end of the day, to have someone listen without judgment on your money story.
Yeah,
it's such a gift. So
one if you could just reduce it down to one powerful bit of advice for coaches and money.
Yes. Oh, goodness.
You're only allowed one, Christine.
What if money was the best friend you ever had and had your back 100%? What would your coaching business look like? What would your life look like? What would your world look like? What if money was your best friend and you had this amazing relationship like you do with your current best friend, your real best friend? What could life look like?
That's something to think about, huh?
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Christine.
You're so welcome. I know. I feel like we could chat for hours here on this topic.
Yeah. I'll be posting this on my my Facebook group. I've got a Facebook group for coaches, a private group. So, and on my page. So,
thanks for the opportunity, and it's been a pleasure.
Thanks, Christine. Take care.
Bye-bye.